Quote, "Healing takes courage, and we all have courage, even if we have to dig a little to find it." End quote. Hi again. It's Jonathan, and you're listening to The Equation. Today we're tackling the subject of actions a person can take to bring about emotional freedom. As the quote from Tori Amos explains, healing does indeed take courage, which is one of the reasons why so many people live with suffering. Healing requires us to deal with our pain, to work with it, acknowledge it so we can move past the pain. There are no shortcuts to emotional freedom, but anything worthwhile takes commitment and practice, and this is no exception. It's worth noting that I consider myself a lifelong practitioner, but by no means have these actions mastered. I have numbered them basically for the sake of radio so you can know when I have moved on to another type of practice. These aren't in any kind of order. It's more meant for a choose-your-own-adventure type approach. Some actions will be more effective than others to different people. The healing process begins as soon as you commit to doing it. And I mean really commit. Not some, I'll get to it next Saturday, lame dialogue you tell yourself. But when you create space, both mentally and physically, for real healing to occur. Lastly, I would like to say that these steps have been reviewed by a mental health professional because I believe in the credo, above all else, do no harm. If you would like to read over these steps, I have put them up on my website, theequation.info, for your viewing pleasure. 1. Action. Do, create. Contemplation is action. Ruminant thinking isn't and can be self-destructive. Contemplating a creative solution to a problem? Cool. Meditating? Cool. Using your imagination in a life-affirming way? Cool. Beating yourself up for something you did in the past? Ruminating on your lack of worth? Not cool. And what you did was probably not as bad as you imagine it to be. Our imaginations are divine, but divinity doesn't mean they won't fuck you over if not properly cared for. Get out of your head. Dance, draw, write a friend, phone a friend. Go be in nature. If you can't go to nature, bring nature to you. No money? Dig up some grass and put it in a jar and nurture the fuck out of it. Just act. There's a Tuareg proverb that states, "It's better to walk without knowing where to go than to sit still without knowing what to do." Now, I deliberated on whether or not to use indigenous wisdom because I find it terribly fucked up how privileged white folks such as myself use these quotes because they are wise as hell, but we would never dream of asking a Mexican migrant worker for advice. See how screwed up that is? If not, meditate on it. And feeling guilty about it is a waste of everyone's time. We act in reality so complex that it is impossible to predict the outcome of our actions. For example, I have no idea how this work will live in the world. All I know that the act of creating it has had a tremendous healing effect on me, and that the creation of it is its own reward. When I said earlier that it is a useful fiction, the reason it's useful is because of the effect it has had on me. I don't know, nor to a certain extent do I care what the effect it has beyond that, and that's just fine. It may cause World War III. Another form of action? Go get some damn help. The world is full of beautiful creatures working to make their realities a little more accepting, a little less fearful, less violent, a little more silly. There are great resources available for people feeling like they need a little help, and there is zero shame in this. And for those creatures that don't seem beautiful, can you see how they are suffering and trying to get rid of it, to shake it loose from them, and you happen to be smack dab in the way? And not take it personally, but still be able to see the beauty that is in them, sometimes buried beneath a whole lot of darkness? When you come across someone who is obviously miserable, can you see that buried beneath all the oppression, shittiness, selfishness, ugliness is a wounded heart in desperate need of healing? in need of the most basic, fundamental, free commodity humans have at their disposal? Compassion. A great self-test to see if you need some help is as follows. See if you can still laugh, if you still have a sense of humor. Lacking a sense of humor is lacking a sense of perspective. For example, if you can't find anything funny about seeing a dog fart and said dog being in complete shock of what just occurred, you need to work on your perspective. Yes, the world is full of horrendous violence. People treat each other terribly. You treat people terribly. Violence to nature is sickening, but it isn't depressing. Again, depression has more to do with what trauma you have had in your life, your sense of purpose, etc. Everyone gets knocked down in life. You just can't ever give up. You have to dust yourself off and get back up. Never, ever give up. Don't ever give up, not out of a fear of dying, but out of a love of life, out of a love of getting to learn one more thing, of getting to hear one more beautiful piece of music, to share one more laugh with a friend, to ride a bike on the perfect summer evening. I would like to take this time to talk about working on yourself. It can be argued, as I have, that it is selfish to work on yourself when there are so many problems in the world. I would like to use myself as an example for why I believe this isn't the case. I have been pretty rotten miserable for quite some time, believing just what I mentioned above. I suffered from a toxic cocktail of victimization, feeling like there was nothing I could do and blaming a shitty social system. I suffered from internalized depression, feeling as if I was not smart enough or capable enough to do much of anything. I possessed a shitty attitude toward my work, viewing it as soul-sucking space where I perform meaningless tasks. What does it matter? The world's going to shit anyway. And to top off this suffering cocktail, I was jealous of anyone who was actually having fun and being spontaneous and acting in the world. And what fear holds me back most of all, causes so much violence to swish around in my beautiful body, is for whatever mix of creativity, madness, imagination, fiction, inquiry, I have deduced that the alpha ego is the origin of suffering. And because of my Christian socialization, I am terrified of my ego and my alpha power, because to possess one must mean that I am not good. So what happens? My ego roars to life. It's distracting me in every step of my life. And why is my ego doing this to me? Because just like everything else in this fucking heart-wrenching beautiful world, it wants love. It wants accepted. I'm egotistical. I'm sensitive, emotional, a male-bodied person. Brilliant, flawed, powerful, white, silly, funny. Perfectly capable of concentration, thank you very fucking much. And you know what? All of it, every last drop of it, isn't fucking normal, because I love myself and I would never inflict such notions of violence upon my body ever again. I was in a relationship with a terribly wonderful woman who sadly became ill. I loved her, still do and always will. But due to my horrendous suffering that participated in us having a rocky relationship before she fell ill, I was unable to be the supportive rock for her that I so desperately wanted to be and she so desperately needs. I'm not saying I failed completely. I know I didn't. I'm almost over beating myself up over it. I was more like a supportive rubber band, there for her sometimes, other times stretched out too far in my own hell to be of much support. And sure, she was a horrendously stubborn, terrible patient, part of what I loved about her. But ultimately, I didn't have the emotional resolve to not take her illness personally. And that's a major bummer. And here's the kicker. I did my best. I did the very best I could, because whether we know it or not, we are always giving it our best. It's just that I was mired in so much delusional bullshit that I couldn't recognize it. And here's the other thing about it. She didn't need me to be a strong man. She needs strong humans in her life that have the capacity to show compassion, not pity, that have the capacity to be silly with her, so maybe, just maybe, for one brief moment she can shift her consciousness from her pain and suffering to experience a little joy. This is the miracle. All she needs is for people to be their beautiful selves, but sadly this is so difficult because so damn many of us are terrified of who we are. Because we're inadequate? No. because it's conditioned in us. Because of my suffering, I have put my immediate family members, who love me unconditionally, through hell. Not only have I scared them to death when I'm low, but I was terribly impatient and crummy to them at times. My suffering also negatively affected my quality of work and therefore negatively affected my coworkers and company, who are guilty of nothing other than being amazing human beings trying to make a company a family and be able to support the employees in the process. I take, still working on it, everything personally when I'm low, and I'm more susceptible to being an alpha fearmonger during these periods. That sucks for anyone involved with me. So as you can see, not working on yourself is actually the selfish course of inaction. Just know that everyone is deserving of healing. Being empathetic towards another feels good. Showing gratitude, being patient, compassionate, forgiveness feels good. Doing a good job at work feels great, but these things are hard to muster when we feel like dog shit. Actually, I bet if you took the smell away and didn't know what you were touching, dog shit probably feels pretty good. So that's probably not the best analogy. The cool thing is, when humans are happy, they're less likely to judge other people. People want you to work on yourself so you'll leave them the fuck alone to live their life and create their worlds. So you'll stop oppressing them with nasty words, then turn around and try to help them. This played out in my relationship with my ex-girlfriend. I would oppress her by taking things personally and act like a hurt teenager the next moment and ask what I could do for her. I feared my power and therefore tried to control it when this is an illusion. Power's too mischievous and it will do what it damn well pleases, so you might as well get the hell out of its way. So you can have compassion for them and not judge them and not try to fix them. So you see, it's not that oppressive people in power are evil, at least no more than anyone else in the world. It's that they're terribly miserable. Pretty wild, huh? A lot of healing modalities ask you to surrender to a higher power as an aid to healing. I ask, and am far from alone in this, that you surrender to the higher power within, which is all of you. So get the fuck out of your own way. You're perfect in all your imperfections. Envy, joy, jealousy, hate, compassion, ignorance, brilliance. You're human. You're conscious. That's good enough. That's all and everything that is ever required or asked of you. 2. Okay, we're finally to 2. I promise they're not all that long. It's never too late. That's just those oppressive thoughts keeping you down. They're not yours. Some poor suffering soul infected you with them. When the darkness is as thick as tar, you can't even pick up on when love is coming your way. It's there. You're never too far gone to heal, to be the person you desperately want to be. 3. Participate in activities where there is no time for thought. Our beings seem to love this. Having created this completely unnatural environment for which humans to exist in, we're in our heads too damn much. We're mammals. We need to be wild. There's something liberating, life-affirming about participating in activities that require just animal instinct, immediate response such as dancing, sports, playing an instrument. Ever see a musician lose themselves while performing? That's ecstasy. It's intoxicating to witness, isn't it? These types of activities cause our brains to lose all sense of time. This is something we're desperately in need of. Healing can partially be an intellectual endeavor, but it can't only be that. There are plenty of intellectually brilliant people who are emotional train wrecks. 4. Get involved in your community. A major contributor to suffering is alienation. Alienation is a major roadblock to creating change, and being alone in our heads when the stories we tell ourselves are negative ones can be a major contributor to mental prison. You don't have to have absolutely everything in common with a particular group in order to participate in it. 5. Get real about your addiction. Addicted folks are master justifiers. It takes one to know one. I only drink when I'm social. You're social 6 days a week. I need it to cope with the horrors of the world. Then why don't others? Just this last pill, then I don't have any more. You have 5 contacts in your phone that will have you more in